Hey everyone, and welcome to Squidly, our second channel where we do the best tutorials on the internet and some inspiring content for you to enjoy and maybe get hyped to paint more miniatures by watching. And in this video, I am going to talk to you about some miniatures that I am never going to sell, and the only collectible miniatures that after getting it, I'm like, I'm never gonna get rid of this. And that, my ladies and gentlemen, is of course my retro 80s Heroquest collection. So, where does my love for Heroquest begin? Well, it actually goes really far back. I started playing Warhammer in like the mid-90s, 96, 97 sometime. And back then, I didn't have any friend that played Heroquest, but I always looked at the miniatures. I thought that these minis are really freaking cool. I want to have them too. But as a kid, you know, you were limited in your budget, you didn't have money for everything you wanted, so I never got started with Heroquest. But then come the time when I came back into miniature painting and I was an adult, I had disposable income, and I was like, I really want to have it. I really want to have one set. Couldn't find one. Impossible. But eventually I managed to find two different sets of Heroquest in Swedish. And with these two sets combined, I had one full set of Heroquest. The boxes were broken, they're worn down. I don't have the nice box art that the Americans, Germans, and English people got. We had this like photograph of the setup game, which is weird. I don't know why, but it's probably different markets and the audience was used to different things. And apparently in Sweden, we weren't used to having cool illustrated artworks on board games. And it's so fucking stupid, I don't know why. But I purchased it and got super excited. And then I came across a paint job by an Instagram artist called Amuse, who started doing like the paint jobs of these like super old retro miniatures that are like by modern standards terribly sculpted, but he painted them in like a modern style with volumetric highlighting, with non-metallic metal, and doing like everything to like super high level. And this got me even more excited, and I'm like, now I want to do this, what he's doing, but in my style, and I want to have it all. So I started collecting, but it's been really difficult. So I had these like eBay notifications on, like whenever there was like an Ogre Kingdom that showed up, I would like, okay, I need to find it. And I joined every Facebook group for like retro Warhammer, and then it increased in price, and like it was so difficult to find. But eventually I managed to grab, so I have the Barbarian Quest, I have the Elf Quest pack. This was the last one that I got because it finally dropped down in price again. I still think I paid like, was it like 350 or 400 euros or something for like 10 miniatures for an expansion for a game from the 80s, which is crazy. But I also have like Ogre Kingdoms, I have Wizards of Morkar, I have all of the expansions and all of the minis now. I've never been like a big collector of like boxes, because like having things pile up in my storage room gives me a little bit stress. So I kind of want to keep it a little bit lean. So I didn't really care about like having the boxes for all the expansions. For me, it was more like having one original of every miniature, so I can like paint it all up and like have a complete collection. So the first miniature that I ever painted, I think, was the Barbarian and the Elf and the Wizard. And so I started with like the heroes. And I think the last hero that I painted was the Dwarf. I had done that like after I painted a ton of other miniatures. That was my least favorite sculpt. So it was more like I had to force myself to paint it rather than anything else. And it's all painted like to various different levels. I think the thing that I'm most proud about is probably the bases, because I think the bases look really, really cool. It's like a dungeon-y vibe. Even though it's painted on like a flat base, you have the sense that it's like three-dimensional. So it's like, yeah, I think that's my favorite part of them. The zombies and skeletons I did as like a batch painting thing with like a green underglow and then just highlighting them with the brush. That took a lot of time, but I did it for a video when it was like we wanted to get my backlog down. So With that, I managed to do like 25 or 30 minis or something for that video just from the Heroquest stuff. And after that, Lucas and I, we've been like painting. Oh, every time we like test a new paint set, we do that on a Heroquest mini. So I think Lucas has painted probably 6 or 7 of the minis, like the goblins and the skeletons and stuff. And I've done most of the stuff. So I've done probably like 90% of the minis. Some of the most fun I've had is with these men-at-arms, because it's like old Empire dudes, but like sculpted worse and like weirder in scale and proportions than the Warhammer Empire stuff. But if you paint them with like a non-metallic metal and like reflective weapons and stuff, you get this like really nice effect to the miniatures, with like looks kind of realistic, but it doesn't. So it's like a disconnect somewhere. But it's some of the most fun I have when I paint is when I like try to push the painting on these super tiny, weirdly sculpted old miniatures. I think the miniature that looks best in the collection is probably one of the wizards from Wizards of Morcar, this blue dude that I did. I really like how he turned out, and I still have 3 of the wizards left to paint, so I gotta get to that, but that was super fun to paint. I also like the female elf, as long as you don't zoom in too much, because her face is like the tiniest face I've painted. So like if you look at her from at least 2 decimeters distance, then she looks great. But don't look closer. I think the weirdest miniatures in like all of the sets, I've only painted one. That is from the Barbarian quest, because in here you have yetis and you have like snow goblins and stuff. And these are weirdly probably the ugliest miniatures in all of Heroquest, but I also love them. That's the weird thing, like it's almost like the uglier they are, the more I love them. Now I kind of want to talk about the Dark Lord and his Chaos Knights. And while I show how I've painted them, let's talk about this week's sponsor, Godforge. Godforge is a tactical mobile RPG MMO game. That's a lot of acronyms. But here's the thing. Godforge is made by one of my favorite content creators and his team of nerds and incredible game designers. They put together a hero collectible fantasy RPG where you fight against dragons, epic enemies, and different creatures from 9 different mythologies. So you will have Greek gods fighting against Vikings and Thor, and Anubis and different Egyptian gods. Everything smacked together in one game. And it's really fun because you have this like team building aspect. So you collect the heroes and then you have to find the different synergies and build different teams to fight against different opponents. And because the game is designed by nerds for nerds, you know that they're gonna spend a lot of time in making an experience that doesn't feel like you're getting fleeced for your last dollar to play the game. It is actually going to be completely free to download. But right now, you can join the beta to test out the game. All you gotta do is follow the link down in the video description, sign up so that you are ready whenever they release more seats for the beta. Maybe you'll be in the next wave and you get to try out the game. And even better yet, when it's launched, it's gonna be so much fun. So make sure that you're signed up to that list so you're notified when the game goes live and you can play it with your friends, against your friends, or against enemies and collect the champions. Now let's get back to the Dark Lord and my Chaos Knights. And much like with many of my other armies, like my Goblin army, I like doing things that has like variation. So you want to have like, look at like history. Not if you go to a city, not everyone had clothing that looked exactly the same. Obviously, there was a lot of like white fabric and brown leather and stuff. But you also maybe had some people with a white shirt on, and maybe someone had a slightly different skin tone. And if you had sheep, some of them would be black, some would be white, some would be a mix of them. So I've tried to make like the goblins in different colors, give them different color freckles. All my Chaos Warriors are different colors. So I have like one purple, one green, one gold, and one blue. And the same goes for the females. It just, like, I paint what I'm excited about painting. And I think that, like, this whole project is really 100% just a passion project. There's like, no, it has to be this, it has to be that. You know, even the men-at-arms have different colors on their armors, which I think is kind of fun. Like, none of them look like the other one. But they come from the same army, and they have the same mustache and face, but the colors are different. And I think that's fine. I still have a lot left to paint, especially in the expansion sets. So from the elf expansion, I painted like 2 men-at-arms, but I have all of the champions left to paint. So in here we have like the ugly wolves, we have the male elf, we have the ranger, and all of that is left to paint. We also have a box full with ogres left to paint. We've only painted 2 so far. Lucas did 1 and I did 1. And in here we have all like the snow bears and the yetis and stuff. But I would love to paint them at some point. And I'm probably gonna get there, but it's like I paint, you know, 5 minutes a year, and eventually I'm gonna have them all done. But it's definitely some of the most fun that I have. And I cannot wait to have like the whole set fully completed and fully painted, and maybe play some games with friends. The game isn't the best anymore, especially not if you play with European rules, where it's like every enemy you face is you kill it with like 1 hit. Weirdly enough, the Americans had a different rule set than the Europeans, but yeah, to me it's not about that. It's not about playing. It's about just only thing where it's like I collect this, I collect it. All the other things, when I collect it, I get stressed that it's just lying on the shelf, so I sell it off after a while. And like, okay, now I've had a Thunderhawk. Now I don't want to have it anymore because it's a lot of money on the shelf, and that stresses me out. But with Heroquest, for some reason, it's different, and I keep like coming back to wanting it and painting it, and it still gives me joy just looking at the boxes. So that's my passion project. So I hope you got inspired by this video, and maybe try to find yourself a retro box of Heroquest. I'm honestly not at all interested in getting the new editions, because I don't think the minis are nearly as cool and unique and have as much personality. So I'm just gonna stick to this old stuff and be happy with that. Massive thanks to Fateless for sponsoring this video with their upcoming game Godforge, and of course our amazing Patreons. You want to see this video a week in advance? Go join there. Join our Discord. It's a great community, especially the top donors. They are the greatest in the community. With that said, have a great day.